In light of the UN Climate Change Summit, the importance of sustainability is imperative to the future of Earth. The way the world lives has to change in order to preserve the future. The seemingly small impact of a tiny greenhouse could be overlooked, but with sustainability being one of SUNY New Paltz's core values with the students utilizing this space, the possibilities for a sustainable impact is endless.
The greenhouse has about 4 or 5 different jobs. Its primary function is really as a research facility. There's not a huge amount of research that goes on here right now, but in the past there's been quite a bit, and in the future we expect some more research happening. And then also a lot of clubs are involved. So there's a group called the Students for Sustainable Agriculture, and they have a little mini farm which is way out past the soccer fields on the south side of campus, and every year they plant a garden there, so they start their seeds in here, and right now they've got 7 or 8 flats going of seeds that they're starting, vegetables, flowers, and things like that. At one point, the Students for Sustainable Agriculture were the kind of main primary caretakers of the greenhouse, but that was a lot of years ago. They're the ones that originally brought in the avocado trees, which are now rooted into the ground and reaching the ceiling, and they've never made fruit, but they do flower every year, which they're doing right now. The last role of the greenhouse is one that I've really been working on developing since I got here, which is having it be sort of a hub for campus activity. I want everybody to come in here. Greenhouse collection is sort of 2 main generalized groups of plants. We have a lot of tropical plants, plants from tropical forests, and these are, a lot of the really common house plants. And things like ferns, what we call tropical foliage plants, things like that. And then the other group is the cacti and succulents. And of course they love the sun, and they can handle being drier. They don't like to be overwatered. And of course they're very popular right now. Plants in general are very popular right now with people, but everybody loves the cacti and succulents, and working on sort of developing that group. But the plants in here come from all over the world. It's everywhere from little islands in the South Pacific to West Africa to Central America, Panama, places like that, and the Arabian Peninsula. This greenhouse is like a little microcosm of the world. I think the greenhouse contributes to sustainability is really just in education and getting people a little more connected to plants and understanding, where their food comes from in some cases. Most people these days, they're used to the food coming from the supermarket or the store, and haven't experienced that wonder of, planting something, watching it flower, watching it make fruit, and then, harvesting that fruit off. I would like to see more of a development of sustainability with the greenhouse. But I think the big thing, my big role has always been connecting people to plants, making them feel comfortable with trying to grow things themselves. I don't think that the greenhouse has reached its full potential yet, because I haven't gotten it there yet. But I sort of feel like it's up to me. There are a lot of projects that I have in the works and a lot more things that I want to do. Getting a better global sense can also connect to getting a better sense of climate change. And there are a lot of different aspects to sustainability, but in my mind the most important one is dealing with climate change, and that means understanding it first and foremost. A huge key to understanding climate change is understanding how plants work, because really the problem of climate change involves plants entirely. The fossil fuels that we burn are actually the remnants of ancient plants that weren't completely decomposed. And it's a very interesting cycle, the way that it works. Those plants that were alive during the Carboniferous period that wound up becoming coal and oil deposits, they existed at a time when the atmosphere had a lot more CO2 in it and was a lot hotter. And that was long before humans existed. It was long before our primate ancestors existed. It was a just completely different planet at that time. And through photosynthesis, they pulled that carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere and built their bodies with it. And that's what plants do. So, all the plants in the world, all the plants that are in this greenhouse, have built their bodies entirely out of the carbon dioxide that they pulled out of the air. And yes, they use some other nutrients, they use some nitrogen and phosphorus and whatever they pull up through their roots, but for the most part, their bodies are built out of carbon dioxide. And that is one of the key things to understand in understanding the problem of climate change in general. So, over the last century, we've taken all of this ancient stored carbon out of the ground and we burnt it. And in burning it, we release that CO2 back in the atmosphere, and the atmosphere heats up, and the climate starts to destabilize. The climate that our species has lived in for thousands of years is changing rapidly, and it's really important to understand that that's happening and the role that the plants play in it. So if we could do what plants do, if we could do an artificial form of photosynthesis where we use the energy from the sun to pull carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere and then store it, ideally back underground, we could reverse what we've done by burning fossil fuels over the past century and hopefully, fix the problem that we created. That's a big hope that I have. And that's, one of the things that I want people to learn in this greenhouse. My favorite thing about working in the greenhouse is really when people are looking through the windows and I can see that look on them that they want to come inside, and then either they come over to the door and they say, "Can I come in?" Or I just look at them and I'm like, "Hey, come on in." And they do, and then they come in and they're like, "Oh, it's so great in here," like I know that feeling, I know it really well, and I want to share that with people, and it happens every couple of days, so and it never gets old. They keep coming, and we're here on a college campus, and every year there'll be new freshmen, and they'll just keep coming. So it's great. It makes my day every time.